Niran Marshall Perera, and he also happens to be the founder and director at Marshall's Wide World Immigration. He's also a barrister and solicitor at the Law Society of Ontario, a registered Canadian immigration consultant, and he's also an attorney at law at the Supreme Court in Sri Lanka. So Niran actually brings you a wealth of expertise and knowledge when it comes to navigating the intricate boundaries of Canadian immigration. So do stick around until the end of the webinar, as we will make sure that you guys have a very productive session. Before we start the webinar, a little bit of house rules that I have to announce. We have disabled the chat, if you guys have noticed, mainly because we have been having some interruptions in our previous webinars. So just want to make sure that we have minimal interruptions and have a smooth webinar going forward. So that is mainly why that we have disabled the chat for you guys. And if you happen to have any questions, we would like for you to reach out to us. We will drop you the specifics on how to reach out to us in terms of booking a personalized consultation, or rather a one-on-one consultation with our founding consultant himself. And that will be revealed towards the end of the webinar. So do stick around until the end of the webinar and keep looking out for that as well. We will also be recording this session for anyone who's missing out today. And in case if you have friends or family who are not able to attend the live webinar, don't worry, we got you covered. Even for you, you can rewatch the webinar in our YouTube channel. So we'll be dropping, or we'll be uploading the recorded session of the webinar on our YouTube channel. One more thing before I go. We are very active on social media. In fact, we have over 20,000 followers across all our social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube, where we post latest immigration updates, success stories, tips and tricks on how you can better your application so that you have a better chance at achieving or maybe receiving Canadian PR. So do feel free to follow us on all our social media platforms. The specifics on the links to follow our social media, guys, we'll be dropping in the chat. So stick around and do give us a follow on that too. I think we are all set and ready to kick off the webinar right now. I will hand over the session to the speaker for today, Niran Marshall Perera. Hope you guys have a very productive session. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much, Ranusha, and I warmly welcome each and every one of you. As Ranusha introduced, my name is Niran Perera, and I'm a regulated Canadian immigration consultant, and I'm also a barrister and solicitor accredited by the Law Society of Ontario. So as Ranusha mentioned, we thought of doing this webinar because of the recent IRCC changes, like regarding PGWP, regarding PR quotas. So we have been getting a lot of inquiries, and people are panicking, and we have been getting a lot of inquiries on what's going to happen and what they should do and all that. So unfortunately, as an organization, we cannot cater all those inquiries. We cannot answer them because of the high number of inquiries, because we are already dealing with the clients who we have entered into agreements to represent. So that's why we thought of doing a webinar. So I'm sure that at the end of this webinar, you will be able to find answers to those questions. So I know it's a working day. So I'll try to keep as short and simple. So I'll try to finish probably within 1 hour or so. So I know you guys are busy with your work, conferences, meetings, and so on. So before wasting any time, so let's get into let me share my screen. So 1 second. Right, perfect. So right. So let's get into the webinar. So we are starting with the recent IRCC postgraduate work permit updates. So as you know, the IRCC recently announced the postgraduate work permit updates, and the majority of those updates concern you. So we'll start with the new rules for PGWP, right? So if you see here, so the IRCC they announced that this for certain restrictions and certain alterations for the previous rules for PGW fees. So we'll start with the first one. Here it says the first one is for the student cutoff, which is I think the majority of the listeners here, like we are inside Canada, so you're not worried about the international student like the cap, right? So with regard to postgraduate work permit, the first rule that they introduced was that the postgraduate work permit should this fall to better align with immigration goals and labor market needs. So as you know, now they have explained that whoever submit an application, student permit application after November 1st, right? So there are restrictions introduced. So in this case, I don't think it's applicable to you guys because like majority of you are already inside Canada, you're studying in Canada. So I'm not going to touch that. But then the next part is the most important one. It says the limiting work permit eligibility later this year to the spouses of master's degree students to only those whose program is at least 16 months in duration. So here, so remember, like the couple of months back, IRCC said that whoever studies 1 year of master's degree will get 3 years of postgraduate work permit. So it was really appealing at that stage because you study for 1 year, you get 3 years of postgraduate work permit. Now they are coming back and say, whoever studied that, the spouses will not get the work permit, right? So the spouses will only get the work permit if the program duration is 16 months. So there's a little bit of double standard there, but what they have done is they have segregated with the student rights and the spouse rights. So then the other one, this is very important. They mentioned like limiting the work permit eligibility later this year to spouses of foreign workers in management or professional occupations or in sectors with labor shortages under Canada's work permit programs, which is the temporary foreign worker program and international mobility program. So this is where the majority of you all are concerned with, right? So here they have mentioned later this year. So until this point, they have not mentioned anything about this, right? So they have introduced the language requirements. They have introduced the aligning with the labor market requirements, but they have not introduced any rules as of now applicable to spouse open work permit. So whoever is not applied or whoever already applied, you do need not to worry because normally Canada is a country which honor rule of law. So they will not introduce laws retrospectively. So at this moment, there is absolutely nothing for you guys to worry because they have not mentioned anything as to when they are going to do it and what they're going to do it and to whom it will be applicable. So whoever inside Canada most probably will have no issues whatsoever because remember the study permit PGWP rule, what they did was they imposed for whoever applied after November 1st, not that whoever is studying or whoever is completing studying after November 1st. So in that way, they know before the application, they know that they're not going to get the PGWP or they are going to get the PGWP. So likewise for spouses at this moment, I'm telling you, you do not have to worry because they have not said anything with regards to limiting your work permit. So what they have mentioned is like later this year, they will introduce this rule. So to whom it will apply, they have not mentioned as of now. So you don't have to worry at this moment. Then when it comes to the language requirements, right? So then the IRCC with regard to the PGWP, now they have said whoever applies for PGWP after November 1st, you have to take a language test. So if you have done a bachelor's degree, master's degree or a doctoral degree from a university, you have to demonstrate CLB 7 for you to get a postgraduate work permit. Similar to any other program which is done through a university, you have to demonstrate CLB 7. And when it comes to the colleges, like the institutions other than university, you will only have to demonstrate Canadian language benchmark of 5. So the language test is pretty much set. It's very clear. Whoever applies to PGWP after 1st of November, you have to take a language test, right? So if it is university, it has to be CLB 7. If it is college, it has to be CLB 5. Now the another question that we get, do the spouses also have to take the language test? Here it's clearly mentioned it's for PGWP, right? So if you go down here in the notes, here they have mentioned, as a part of the changes to the PGWP program, all applicants will be required to demonstrate minimum language proficiency in French or English. Here, by all applicants, they have said PGWP program. So the spouses are not applying for PGWP. This is only for the students who after graduation apply for PGWP. So as of now, there are no language requirements for spouses as well. So that is very clear. It is clearly mentioned that it is for PGWP program and it is for students, and they have not mentioned anything with regard to spouses. So for as far as I am concerned, the major concern here is this line, right? So here they have mentioned the proposed reduction of temporary residents from 6.5 Canada's total population to 5% will be reflected in the immigration plan. So let's break this down a bit, right? So what they're trying to do is they're trying to bring the temporary residents to 5%. So right now it's 6.5, right? So the current temporary residents in Canada is hitting close to 2.8 million, right? And the total population in Canada is 40 million. So if you see, the 5% means 2 million. So that means 800,000 temporary residents by the end of 2026. Either they have to become permanent residents or they have to go back to their respective countries. So can Canada accommodate 800,000 into their permanent resident program? As of things stands now, it's not going to happen, because they're going to bring new people as well. So this 800,000, so that means some people will miss out on permanent residence. They have to take some decisions to cut down the temporary residence. So it can be from the worker, it can be from student, but there is something to be worried, because they are going to get rid of 800,000. Either they have to give permanent residence or either they have to send them back. It's simple as that. So that's where the actual problem is. So now if we go into the immigration level plan, which is our main point of discussion today, once this was disclosed and published to the general public, it looked like, oh my God, it's going to be, because like all the media saga just before 1 or 2 days, they said Canada's going to cut down 100,000 permanent resident quotas, and election is coming, so they have to do this. So you don't need not to panic, but you have to realize there is an issue in your hand which you have to deal very, very promptly as well as methodically. So here, if you see the numbers, it's like they have mentioned 2025, their target is 395,000, 2026, 380,000, and 2027, 365,000. So earlier, this was supposed to be 500,000, right? So let's dig deep into this, right? So we will discuss the previous immigration plan, because they have already they have demonstrated the plan for 2024 to 2026. If you see here, 2024 number was 485, 2025, 500,000, 2026, 500,000. So then if you put this into a table, you will see there is a difference of 105,000. That's a deduction from the initial plan. And then 2026, there is a deduction of 120,000. So that is a considerable cut down. So but I'm telling you, in this case, every dark cloud has a silver lining. So we will find that out during this webinar. So if we go to the economic category, which is where the main focus is, right? So the economic category under the 2024 plan, this is where the economic category, where majority of you all will fall into, because this cover the federal high skill, this cover the pilot programs, and this cover the provincial nominee programs and Quebec's skilled worker and business program. So if you see right, so this one, right, so the latest plan, right, so then you will see here also they have demonstrated the total economic numbers. So let's evaluate one by one. So when it comes to economic numbers, earlier it was 301,250 for 2025 and 2026. Now the updated plan is 232,150, and for 2026 is 229,750. So that will show us a difference of 69,100 for the year of 2025. So Canada is basically cutting down 69,100 from the economic plan in 2025, and it will further increase to 71,500. So yes, there is an issue, but let's dig deep, like how we can find a solution for this. If you see here, in 2025 to 2027 plan, they have divided the earlier they have only mentioned the federal high skilled, right? So in the total economic class, the majority of them are the federal high skilled. Now under new plan, you will see they have divided this into two. They have mentioned federal economic priorities, and there is a new category, in Canada focus. In Canada focus is the what that matters for you guys, because you're already inside Canada, so it's a good thing. So let me show you why it's a good thing. So if you see the 2025 plan, right? So the federal high skilled was only 117,500. Now, under new program, they have divided into two, federal economic priorities and in Canada focus. So if you take the aggregate of these two and compare with the previous federal high skill, you will see it's an actual increase of 7,180 for the year 2025 and the 5,730 for the year of 2026. So it's something to be happy about, because like the majority of the economic the categories when it comes to federal high skilled and in Canada focus, it has gone up. So now we have to see where the actual loss is. The actual loss is coming from the provincial nominee programs. So the previous plan for 2025 provincial nominee, so let's evaluate from the official website itself, right? Previous plan, provincial nominee, 120,000 for year 2025. 2026, again, 120,000. Then the new plan, you see, for year 2025, it's 55,000. And year 2026, it's again 55,000. If you do the calculation, the difference of 65,000 there is there in the provincial nominee program. So they are limiting the provincial nominee program. So if you are planning to get your permanent residence from the provincial nominee program, there is something to be worried. Don't worry, we'll discuss what action we can take to handle this situation. But if you see the total, like if you go up and see here, now the total economic category, the deduction was 69,100, out of which the 65,000 is coming from the provincial nominee. So if you break it down, the real issue is for provincial nominee, and the other categories, if anything, the situation has it has gone from whatever it has gone you have a better situation as opposed to what it was previous. So you have nothing to worry on those grounds. But if you're looking under provincial nominee, you have a problem right there. So let's see what impact it will have the federal quotas of nomination. So these are the 2024 numbers, 2023, 2024 numbers, where the federal government has allocated for each province. For an instance, Ontario, as you said, based on the population, they have the highest number of allocations. They have 21,500. Alberta, 9,750. Manitoba, 9,500, 9,880. British Columbia, 8,200. Saskatchewan, 8,000. And Newfoundland and Labrador, because they have to divide their allocation between their provincial nominee program and the AIP program. So they have 3,050 nominations. So just imagine, out of these, if the government is remember the number, earlier it was 120,000 and now it's 55,000. So that means it has cut down more than half. So now Ontario should end up somewhere close to, because these numbers are not published yet, because it's for the year 2025, but we can reasonably assume that all these provinces will have at least 50% deduction. So the Ontario will end up somewhere around 10,000 to 11,000. Alberta, somewhere around 5,000. Manitoba, again, somewhere around 5,000. Then the British Columbia and Saskatchewan, somewhere around 4,000. and Newfoundland and Labrador, they're going to go like somewhere around to 1,500. So that is where the real issue is. If you're planning to get the permanent residence through the provincial nominee program, you have an issue right in front of you. Because let's see, if this is the breakdown for OINP nominations by stream for year 2023, because 2024 is not published yet, because still they are having draws, right? So here, if you see the master's graduate program, they almost contribute 1/3 of the total number of applications, right? So and then Ontario Express Entry Human Capital Priorities, where they have the health draw and the tech draw, they have nearly 5,000 applications, right? So then the alarming number is this: employer job offer international student stream. So if you're planning to get under this, just imagine if this is going to cut down in half, somewhere around 450, then the score is bound to go up, because lesser the number of invitations, higher the score will be. The cutoff score will have to go up. So if we are hanging around somewhere around 70, 72 and hoping that you will get an invitation next year, you're doing that at your own risk. So it is something to be worried. So when we compare this to BCPNP, you will see skilled worker, we have almost 1,000, and express entry skilled worker, which is the highest, we have 2,800, and the international graduate, which is very common because these people who are studying University of Canada West and so on. So they have 1,140. Remember, this is 2023 numbers out of 8,200. This is how they have spreaded their nominations. So again, remember, this is going to cut down in half. As you know, like which we'll discuss later on this webinar, like the score is somewhere around all-time high. Remember now with the lesser number of invitations, it's going to go up. It cannot come down because, like practically speaking, lesser the number of invitations, higher the score it will be. So that is something to be worried. So now the $1 million question is, what is the way forward, right? So we have to identify what we should do. Now it's very clear. I'll summarize. Provincial nominations are going to go down by 50%. Other federal streams, the category-based, CICC, they have increased slightly, right? So by 7,000 in 2025 and somewhere around 5,000 in 2026. It's not a significant increase, but it is something better than nothing, because in provincial nomination, you have seen a large cut down. So let's see what we can do to tackle this situation. So we'll start with the immigration plans right here. Now, as I said, our focus should be in these two categories, right? So the federal economic priorities and in Canada focus. So let's dig deep into these one by one. If we go to the federal economic categories, here it's mentioned, right? So we'll go through this. This is the most important part when it comes to federal economic priorities. Includes admissions of eligible candidates with specific skills, training, language ability in order to be responsive to labor market needs through categories established by the Minister of IRC in the express entry system. Then the most important line is this. The 2025 priority categories include healthcare occupations, trade occupations, French language proficiency. So remember, now at this moment, we have 6 categories identified by the government. Like we have healthcare, we have trade, we have French. But we also have STEM category, we also have trade and agriculture. So STEM, agriculture, and the transportation is not in the 2025 priority categories. So if you were planning to get your PR under those 3, you have a problem right in front of you there. So because they have not identified as a priority category. So if you want to have a competitive advantage over others, you have to stick into these categories. You have to come into either healthcare, or you have to come into trade, and you have to go into the French language proficiency. So which we will discuss these 3 later. So then we will discuss this one. This is the major talking point in this update, right? It's the Canadian in Canada focus. So what they mean by in Canada focus? They are mentioned primarily admissions from the Canadian experience class, very important. Admissions from the Canadian experience class and other regional immigration pathways, but may also include federal skilled workers and federal skilled trade. So they have clearly mentioned the primary admission is the Canadian experience class. So it's very, and in the government, like the Mark Miller and even the Trudeau, they have mentioned they are going to give priority to whoever inside Canada. So that is a very good thing as far as you guys are concerned, because you will have a better chance as opposed to what it was previously. So now it's all about being competitive and having a competitive score. So there is a speculation that the government might have a draw where in Canada, healthcare draw. For an instance, somebody must need to be in the healthcare NOC and still need to have 1 year of Canadian experience. So they're combining the category based with the Canadian experience class. So if that happens, the score gonna go down, because the majority of the people who have the Canadian experience and the healthcare, like if you take the Canadian experience into consideration, then whoever applies from outside will be out of the equation. So that means you guys will have a better chance. So if you can focus on trade occupation, healthcare occupation, and French language proficiency, and if it's coupled with the Canadian experience class, you have a very good chance. So even if your age is not in your favor, you will still have a very good chance. So if somebody is looking like, okay, where should we go? Which category should I aim for? Your categories are very pretty much set. It said healthcare, trade occupations, French language proficiency. So if you focus on transportation, agriculture, and STEM at this moment, you are at a risk, right? I'm not saying that the STEM is dead, which we will discuss under the frequently asked questions, but these are the major categories for 2025, right? So we will go into the frequently asked questions, right? So these are the common questions that we get day in, day out, right? So they ask, will the CRS come below 500? That's the $1 million question. Nobody knows the answer. Nobody knows. I can reach a score of 502, but is it a good enough score? So let's go into the previous rows and find the answer for this, right? So right now, as I said, the Canadian experience class is the hot topic. So let's see where after it started in May 31st, 2024, the score started around 522. These scores are pre-COVID. So it's all it's not a good sample size, right? So it's not a good consideration because pre-COVID numbers are now no longer applicable. So we have to see from May 31st. So if you see the May 31st, lowest we have seen is 507. So on the Canadian experience class, lowest we have seen is 507. So let's see how we got there. So here, from July 17th, they have draws consistently every 2 weeks. July 17, July 31st, 14 days. Again, August 14, 14 days. The score kept going down. And the August 27, which is in 13 days, that the score hit the lowest number for this year, 507. Then as soon as they had a 3-week gap, score started going up. Then once they reduced the draw size, the score significantly went up to 539. So if somebody is asking a question, 5 is a 500 a good score? Based on these data, it's not a good score. Because if you had a 500 score in 2024, right? So we are almost coming to an end, which is just less than 60 days to go. We have not seen 500s, and logically speaking, we will not see 500 this year because the current score is 539 and they are not conducting draws because they have already hit the target. So to answer this question, 500, it's highly unlikely, right? But with the in Canada focus in hand, if they have back-to-back draws, it might happen, right? But you have to plan for the worst. You cannot just stay in 500 and hope for the best, right? So you have to proactively try to increase your score. So 502, is it a good score? You never know. But 503 is better than 502. I'll take a real life scenario. I had a very close friend. He's a very I know him for good 30 years or so. His score was 502, right? So then we had an option of doing a master's degree from elsewhere, like Sri Lanka or so on. So if you have done a master's, her score would have been 509. Now, but we didn't do the master's. We were thinking that the score will come down. But now she's stuck in 502. Now she's looking for other alternatives like getting an LMIA and so on. If you have done a master's 1 year back, should have already got an invitation and probably should have got the PR as well. So it is very important to focus and get the highest possible score, right? So we will discuss that later on as well. So the another question that we get, is this the end of the STEM category? Right, so again, we'll dig into this, right? So here, the priority programs they have mentioned, the STEM category is not there. But that doesn't mean that is the end of the STEM category. They have not officially said anything about it. There may be a STEM draw tomorrow because like these priority categories are for 2025. So if you guys have a STEM category profile, get your profiles up and hope for the best. Don't just stay like just don't just dive under because like the STEM category might come because it'll they have mentioned it's not in the 2025 priority list, but they have not officially said that we are abandoning or like we are putting an end to the STEM or the agriculture or transportation, because like those draws are still valid. If you go to their website, it's still under the category based draw, which we will do in a few minutes time, right? So still you have hope, but you cannot be satisfied that you have a STEM profile and you have 505, 506 or 500. You cannot stay there because like you have to now make the play because you are no longer in priority occupations for 2025. Now, the another question that I guess is like some people come to me and say, I am more than 35 years old and waiting for CRS to come down. I wish to know if this is a safe strategy. So what we will do is we'll just calculate. So let's take a quick example. So I'll go through this. Let's see how the CRS is going to be, right? So let's say you are married and your spouse obviously is not a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident. And we'll say that the spouse accompany you and you are 35 years of age, right? And your highest education qualification, let's say you had a bachelor's from Sri Lanka and you did a postgraduate diploma here from any college, Seneca College or like the George Brown or whatever, right? Then you have the language proficiency. You have done the Canadian education. So that means yes, but you have done a postgraduate. So you have to select 1 or 2 year diploma. Then language, let's say that you have CLB 9, right? So which is like right now is kind of become like the absolute necessity to have a good CRS score, right? And you do not know French, so not applicable. And you have 1 year of Canadian experience and you have 3 years of foreign experience. You do not have a trade qualification, no LMIA, no provincial nomination, no brothers or sisters in Canada. And then your spouse, let's say your spouse has a bachelor's degree as well, and he also have 1 year of Canadian experience in a skilled category. And he also can gain 9 in each of the language credentials, like let's say the CELPIP, right? So 9, so which is the highest point, right? So highest point for spouses, right? But when it comes to main applicant, there is still room for improvement. If you can get CLB 10, your score will go up by 12 points, 3 each for right. So let's calculate and see. So now you are ending up with 488. So as I explained previously, you are not safe anything below 507 because we have not seen this for a year, right? So then 488, you're not safe at all, right? So let's change this and see you are a master's student, right? So let's change this. So if you're a master's student, then your highest qualification is master's degree, and the Canadian is you have to change it to master's, right? So then if you change this, then your score is 510. 510 is like we can have a reasonable chance with 510, right? So because always what we do is we cannot speculate, nobody knows, as you know, but 510 is far better than 488. But if you have done a postgraduate program and sitting at 488, I would say you have to look for other options. No point of just dive on that 488 because I'll be extremely surprised and I'll be one of the happiest man in the world if we get to 488, because most of my clients will get the invitations, but 488 is highly unlikely at this moment, right? So if you're 35 and if you are like if you do not have a master's and if you have a language difficulty, then you have to look for other alternatives. It's simple as that. No point of just waiting the score to come down below 500. That's not going to happen, right? So let's say now if you're closing, like even with the masters, now we showed like it's 510. If you're closing on 40 years, let's say 39, your score will drop to 490, right? Because like 5 points for every year, like 4 years, that means 20 points reduction from 510, you will get into 490. So even if you have a master's, no point of just hoping that the score will come down to 490. So like as I said, let's hope that it will come down to 490, but it's highly unlikely. So to answer your questions, if you are 35 years of age and if you are waiting that the score will come down, you're doing at your own risk, right? So you have to make the play. You have to be proactive, right? So let's go to another question. So then a lot of people ask me, because with the new LMIA rules in play, they ask me, is the end of the LMIA supported 50 points or 200 points? No, it's not. It's not. Let's see the new restrictions, what they have mentioned, the wage threshold increase and change attestations, right? So they have changed the attestations, which is like the earlier, like the employers will no longer be able to use the attestation from lawyers and chartered CPAs to prove their business legitimacy. And the most important one is starting November 8, the wage threshold used to determine high wage or low wage stream will be increased by 20%. So, which is very important because it's coupled with this. Starting September 26, 2024, certain LMI applications submitted for low wage positions will be affected by following measures. Certain LMI applications for low wage positions in census metropolitan areas with unemployment rate of 6% or higher won't be processed. So they're saying that it won't be processed. So for low wage LMIAs, it's a problem. But to answer the question, if it is a high wage LMIA, still you can get the 50 points and the 200 points, right? So another restriction for low wage, they have the maximum employment duration for low wage is reduced from 2 years to 1 year. So that's another problem when it comes to claiming experience and getting this 50 points. So to answer this question, is this the end of the LMIA support 50 or 200 points? No, it's not. But because of the restrictions, it will get harder for you to get an LMIA from here onwards, right? But if you're able to find, especially in rural areas, right? So you'll be able to do this. But if you're trying to do in like the high density areas like Toronto, Vancouver, and so on, it'll be difficult. Right. So another common question that I'm getting is it wise idea to prepare for French language tests? The answer here is, if you're able to do it, yes, of course. I'll prove why, right? So if you go to the category-based selections, right? So these are the 6 categories that I told you previously: French language, healthcare, science and technology, trade occupations, transportation, agriculture and agri-food occupations, right? So if you pick on the French language, here the requirement is you have to have a minimum score of 7 in all language abilities. So that means you have to hit the CLB 7, which is not an easy task in French. But if you're able to do that, then the floodgates will open for you. Because if you see the ministerial, the instructions, the rounds that we had, right? If you put French, after it was introduced, it was one of the very common, because they have consistently, they have draws for French language, right? So if you see, like the score is ranging from 439, then the lowest is 336, right? So and again 394. So if you're able to focus, like let's say you cannot get an LMIA, you cannot you don't have a master's, or you have the English language difficulties, or you are like closing on 40, then the French language will be the way forward if you are able to do it. But practically speaking, I find that a lot of people come to me and say they find it difficult to get the French language CLB7. They start, waste 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, and then realize it's not for them. If that is the case, don't start. If you have a background, if you have if you're a quick learner and if you are able to catch the language faster, then that's for you. But for somebody who's not a quick learner, then I don't recommend getting into French, because that'll be waste of your time. But if you're able to do it, let's say you have done French for your O levels or A levels, right? Still it can be done. So we have clients who have done French, right? So they have got the CLB7 and so on. So they sometimes they take 2 to 3 exams, but if you're able to get that score, then the French is definitely a very good option, because even though other factors like may not be in your favor, but the mere fact that you have French, even if you're closing on 45, the French can give you that boost, right? So the French is a very good option if you're able to do it. So you have to do that quick self-assessment of yourself, whether I can do it or is it too much for me. If you think you can do it, you invest your time and money, go for it, all guns blazing, then you'll be able to nail it, because French language is here to stay. Because if you see here, they have mentioned healthcare occupations, trade occupations, French language proficiency. So even in the 2025 priority categories, French is there. So it's not a bad option. If you're able to do it, go for it. There's another question. Can I move to healthcare job and is it worth my time? Yes, of course. If you're able to secure a healthcare job, it's definitely. So why? Again, so we will go to the category based and we will select the health occupations. So the government as of now, right? So they have, let's say here. So right now, I think so. These are the French language. These are the healthcare occupations they have identified. So right now we have 35 occupations which they have identified. So again, if you come down here they have mentioned healthcare as one of their priority occupations. And if in the ministerial instructions, let's see health, right? So the scores, the lowest we have seen is 422. And each province, including Ontario, including BC, they have healthcare programs. So if you're able to get a healthcare job, then your chances is better than any other stream. No doubt. French, health is the way forward. If you're able to get that, then you can do it. You can tackle this situation, right? So let's see how what are the requirements. So when it comes to the healthcare category, here they have mentioned have accumulated within past 3 years at least 6 months of full-time continuous work experience or equal part-time. Remember, equal part-time is also considered in a single occupation in Canada abroad, right? So here it's very clear, right? So if you are able to secure any of these, right, then you will be able to come under health category. And I'm telling you, health category is here to stay, because government in their notice, they have mentioned every year by November, they will change their categories, right? So they have clearly mentioned that, right? So if you see here, right, so the notional targets and ranges from 2026 to 2027 will be confirmed or adjusted by November 1st of each year. So that means next year also they can change this. Remember, next year is the election year, right? So we are the situation is not going to be any friendlier, because the government needs to demonstrate that they're reducing immigration and they want to get the votes of the Canadian people. So only way to do that, they have to say that they are reducing immigration, right? So then next year they can still adjust this. So we have to be worried there as well. After that, then the situation will probably, because they would not have an election, and we will discuss whether the result of the election, whether it will have an impact or not later on. But so as of now, health category is a very important, category for the government is concerned because of the COVID. And as you see, if you go to a hospital right now, the waiting times are 9, 10, even 12 hours, right? If you go to an emergency, so this has to come down. So they are trying to bring that down, especially let's say province of Ontario, they are inviting lot of healthcare workers, right? So then we have to see okay, so it's easy for me to say, okay, go get into a healthcare job. If you do not have qualification and experience, it's very difficult. You cannot become a dentist, you cannot become a doctor, you cannot become a nurse, but you have to, if you carefully analyze, there are like few occupations in this 35 that you can target. For an instance, massage therapist. Again, it's a skill job, it's a licensed job, but getting that license is not hard like getting dentist license, right? Then you can here other professional occupations in healthcare, diagnosing and treating, and we have 33,100. This one. Let me find that. Okay, so the here nurse aides, right? So that's another thing that you can target, right? So the and then find that. Okay, this is fine, right? So the other assisting occupations in support of health services. So this is a very important knock, right? So the if you go into this, right? So the we will Google this, right? So the this is the national occupation classification for this, right? So the if you see the index of titles, right? So this even include office assistants, right? So the even though you're doing a healthcare job, you need not to have healthcare experience to become an office assistant. So if you're able to find an opportunity in a clinic, you will be able to get into healthcare, and you only need 6 months, right? So the clinic assistant, clinic attendant, clinic helper, all these are like the healthcare. It's under healthcare, right? So the so if you are able to find, like if you go to a small clinic and become an like assistant, it's not a hard thing to do, right? So the amount the nature of the job is highly administrative than technical, right? So therefore, you have a good chance if you're able to focus on those, right? So then like if you see the numbers, like the number of occupations here, right? They have like the therapy aid and the assistant, surgical assistant, and rehabilitation aid. Likewise, if you are able to secure an assistant or a supporting role, still it's under healthcare. So that's where your opportunity lies. So if you're able to answer this question, I move to a healthcare job? Yes, even without experience and technical knowledge. If you're able to find a small clinic, or like if maybe like through a friend or like through a reference. So if you go to clinics and ask, do you need an assistant? Whether even you can start with a volunteering job, and then you can secure a full-time job. If you can secure that and stay for 6 months, then and you will be able to apply under healthcare. So if you see the points here, the CRS score here, it has gone down to 422 in February 14, 2024. So if the age is not in your favor, if the language is not in your favor, still, if you can get the invitation, even with a score somewhere around, like now it has gone up to 445, it will slightly go up because like we did not have a row for nearly 6 months. Like for yesterday, it's 6 months. So it'll go up. But if they continue the healthcare rows, at one point it'll come down. So rather if you're unable to get into 500s, as I said previously, you have to target either French, either health, right? So then the other question that I get, whether you will be able to get under trade occupations, right? So again, the trade, the current cutoff is 433, right? So let's evaluate the trade options here, right? So trade occupations, here they have 10 trade occupations, right? So if you're able to fit into any of these, again, you have a priority because it's a priority occupation. So you will have an advantageous position as opposed to targeting on 500s, because if you see here, the score is ranging from 430s to 440s, and even dropped into like 388 back in August 2023. And then somewhere around 420 to 430, you have a reasonable chance. So again, if you do not have the 500 plus score, your best bet is to get into one of those, right? So remember the 3 categories in pay right now: French, health, trade, right? So now let's move to another question. So what will happen to the immigration if the Liberal government loses the next election? So as you all know, we are heading towards the election, and now we are starting to feel because of all these changes and all these restrictions is coming because of the election. It's very pretty evident. It's a very evident that because like even this 100,000 reduction in the PR stream, the 2 days prior to the official release, the press release, the media was telling that like 100,000 deduction is coming. So the media saga is there. So the government is playing to give an impression to the entire public that they are reducing immigration, right? So then the election will have a main role to play. So the liberal government, so the conservatives, right? So if you see here, right? So they are also planning to win the election. So for them to win the election, they have to say they are going to bring restrictions on immigration because temporary work, like the temporary residents like you guys, cannot vote. So if they are to win the election, they have to get the votes from the citizens. So here it is clearly mentioned by the leader of the Conservatives. They have mentioned that Canada's population growth, right? Conservative leader Thursday, he would rein Canada's population growth if elected, claiming that the Liberal government has destroyed our immigration system and insisting on cuts of number of people arriving in order to preserve the program that was once widely supported. So then, even if, like, let's say if the Trudeau government loses the election, then the situation can get worse, right? So it's very important for you guys to focus whether they win or not. The situation can go from because before the Trudeau government, back before 2015, if you dig deep into the history, the Conservatives, as the word suggests, is conservative. They are like they want to provide that the immigration is not their bread and butter, because they want to restrict immigrations from the outset. So that is their the political opinion about immigration is restricted. So they are following the narrowed approach when it comes to immigration. So if they loses the Liberal government or the Trudeau government lose the election, then we are going to have more restrictions in the future, unless they change their approach about immigration. And because if you follow the parliamentary debates, you will see the Conservatives are raising a lot of questions. Why did you bring this amount of international students, and why did you bring this amount of temporary foreign workers? And because the government previously, as you know, they wanted to increase the number of working hours from 24 to 20 to 24, but because of the parliamentary pressure, they were unable to do that. So they have they said they are going to do it this fall. So now we are just a couple of weeks away from the end of the fall. So which that's where the problem is, right? So then right now, if Trudeau government, if they win, then the situation might get better, because if after winning the election, they might again have the the positive immigration plans. But if they lose the election, then it can be a problem for all the applicants, right? Another $1 million question that we get is should I change the province? That's a very tricky question to answer, right? So a lot of people, what they say, right, because now I explained previously, provincial nomination will have restrictions going forward. So to answer this question, what I would suggest, if you're looking at the provincial nominee programs, if any of the federal programs are not going to work for you, then first evaluate all the options in your province, right? Then let's say you are from Ontario, you studied in Ontario, you worked in Ontario, then first evaluate all the options. It can be international student stream, foreign worker stream, it can be in-demand skill. Ontario has a lot of PNP options. So failing which, you can look into the other options. So right now, the change in the province, because a lot of people, what they do is, I have a couple of families doing that back in 2023, because they knew that the numbers going to go up. They moved to one family moved to Alberta, the other family moved to Manitoba, but the one family had 2 kids, and the one kid frequently she got sick and they came back. They wasted 8 months because of this move. It's because of this unplanned move, right? They could have evaluated the options in Ontario. They could have looked for a job offer in Ontario. If you are in a province like Ontario, British Columbia, if you are trying to move into a province like which has extreme weather conditions like Alberta and Manitoba, think twice, especially if you have kids, right? So you have to take that calculated move, and before doing that, you have to take your personal considerations. If somebody is having asthma or like somebody is suffering from any medical condition, right away, diving into the deep end in a winter to Alberta or Manitoba, it's not going to work out for you. It can make matters worse for you. So you have to do your research. And after doing the research, if it's not going to work in your province, then you can look for options. But if it is going to work, like the first priority should be given to your Ontario, like whatever the province that you are right now, because you are settled, your kids are going to school, you have jobs, you have settled, you have place to stay, and you know the environment, you have a cultural and the social support, you have all the goods here. So before take that important move, do think twice. And if you think, okay, I'm prepared for this, then go for it. And I'll explain. Before going, you have to have concrete idea about what you're going to do. Without knowing the actual plan that you're going to execute, don't move. Don't move at all. And you have to plan. Let's say if you're moving next, if you're planning to move, now you have decided that Ontario, British Columbia will not going to work out because the provincial nominee is not going to work out. You cannot come under category. Your best bet is to go to Manitoba, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and so on. So then what you have to do is you have to start the research right now, right? So you apply for jobs right now. And then you take the move after winter. Don't go in the winter because you will definitely have it's personal, to be quite honest. Some people they are able to deal with it, but if you are not prepared for this, don't move in winter. Plan now, apply from here, like the stay here, or else if you want to see that you want to get you can go like visit there, get a number from there, and keep that number with you and apply for jobs as if you are applying from there, and then see whether you're getting inquiries, so you're keeping your current job and then making that move, so you're not losing anything. But if you give up your job and then blindly go there, then all of a sudden, then you have financial issues, then you have like the other family-based issues, your child is getting sick, so then it will be very difficult situation for you to deal with. So what you have to do is, if you're making that move, make a planned move. Don't go blindly. Just focus on what you're going to do and then plan the process. And while staying here, just try to secure like a job or something that you can rely on, then make that move, right? So the another question where they ask is where can I find the official information about all provincial nominee programs? So we have the Government of Canada, they have provided the provincial nominee program link, right? So it's the easiest way to find that out. The link is, you just go to Google, immigrate as a provincial nominee. So just go to Google here. Just put immigration as a provincial nominee, immigrate as a provincial nominee, you will be directed to this web page, which is official Government of Canada website, right? So when it comes to provincial nominee, there are two programs. One is express entry based, the other one is non-express entry. So basically the difference is one is processed through express entry, the other one is processed through non-express entry. So if you see the processing time, right? So if you see the processing time here, economic immigration, provincial nomination, they're asking online via express entry. Yes, processing time is 6 months, right? But as soon as you put no here, the processing time is 13 months, right? So this was updated yesterday. So it's 13 months, and if the express entry, it's 6 months. So non-express entry is getting the processing times are twice higher than the express entry, right? So then if you come here, then this is the most reliable source to find provincial nomination information in any province, right? So all what you have to do is you just click on a province. Let's say you want to find out about Alberta. Continue. Then you will be directed to the Alberta Advantage A, which is commonly known as AIP program. And if you go back and then select, let's say, Manitoba, right? Continue. So then you will be directed to the Manitoba Provincial Nominee Program. So this web page is the official website to find the information about the provincial nomination. So you can select based on your province of choice, you can select the province and get the details, right? So now, right. So then the other question, like a lot of people ask me, is what is the best province to move to gain PR? There is no uniform, like universally accepted answer for this, right? Because it differs from person to person, province to province, right? So there like the so based on your skill set, based on your age and how much time you have, like some people, like for an instance, Manitoba, if you are like the want to get like within 1 year, then you have to look for a province like Manitoba. If you have time in your hand, you might look for other provinces. So there is no such the best province for you guys to move, right? So because it depends on your personal situation and facts and circumstances. So the as I said previously, all what you have to do is you have to focus on the like in the province that you are currently residing, then failing which only you have to look elsewhere. So why I'm saying that there is no such best province to like the move is that because of the each province will have their different requirements. For instance, we'll start with Ontario. So the Ontario Provincial Nominee Program, they have like the job offer stream, international student stream, in-demand skills. These all three are job offer based. So the what you have to do is you have to like the figure out the details here, like the foreign worker stream. You need 2 years of experience. Some people think, okay, like I just have 1 year, I can apply under foreign worker. No, the same knock that you are applying, same knock where you have the job offer, you need to have 2 years of experience. International student, you need to study. The spouse cannot apply for international student stream. So and you have to apply within 2 years of graduation. Then in-demand skills, the government have identified certain in-demand skills. Then when it comes to masters, as we saw previously, masters will have the highest number of, they had the highest number of invitations in 2023. So, and they have the express entry stream as well, which is the human capital priorities and skilled trade. So the Ontario has the best website when it comes to information. So for an instance, if you check one, like the program, if you click on the foreign worker, it will provide you all the information that you need, right? Which job offer requirements, and whether it has to be a full time and it has to be an eligible occupation, median wage. A very important thing again here, the under foreign worker, your wage has to be higher than the median wage, and the employer will have requirements as well. So whoever is giving your invitation, like the support, they have requirements, right? So they have to be in 3 years of operations, and if they are in GTA, they have to meet 100,000, outside GTA 500,000, and then if you are in GTA, you need to have like the full-time employees working for you, right? So likewise there are certain requirements. So now let's see British Columbia. If you come to the British Columbia program, now the skill invitations, right? So so the British Columbia, they also have like the British Columbia, the international graduate stream and the skilled worker stream. It's now at like an all-time high, right? So it's kind of like it's high, so it's very difficult to meet. So unless you are in childcare, construction, healthcare, or tech, even the tech is high, but the childcare, construction, and healthcare, you have a reasonable chance. So if you're not under these four, again, you have to reevaluate your options, right? So and when it comes to Alberta, so the Alberta, they have like several programs, right? So then lot of people think that the Alberta, they have introduced the tourism and hospitality stream, and they have even like introduced several other provincial nominee-based programs. But the problem with Alberta is they are posting their draws, right? And then when it comes to selecting a provincial nominee program, it's very important for you guys to identify the actual requirements, because like 2 weeks ago, one person, he called from Alberta, like he was studying in Ontario at the Fanshawe College, London, and he told me like, sir, I moved to Alberta thinking that if I find a job offer under like in a restaurant, I can apply for PR under tourism and hospitality stream. That is not the case, unfortunately, because if you are planning to apply under this, you need like the positive LMIA like for your job offer, right? So mere fact that having a job offer will not give you the invitation that you need, right? So and there is a like exception to this because of the wildfire, but in majority of the cases it's not applicable. So where you need to have a positive LMIA for you guys for to apply under this stream. So for God's sake, before you make the move, please check the requirements. Please check the cutoff, and please check the occupations, right? So these are the occupations that you have, like they have skilled ones, they have unskilled ones. So even the light duty cleaners and then the food and beverage servers, they are included. But you need to have LMIA supported job offer, right? So before making a move, it's very important to decide what you're going to do. So I'll explain the other one with the Manitoba, because Manitoba 1 year ago is one of the best provinces to move, because if you are not a student, you only need 6 months experience, right? But right now, if you see the Manitoba like the skilled worker, it's at 872, and this row 845, this one 834. So if you see the Manitoba, the points grid, right? So the like it's out of 1,000. So you'll be able to score if you are able to find a job offer, right? So then you will be able to gain like the maximum points under this if you are able to find a job offer. But if you have studied in any other province, or if you have worked in any other province, Manitoba has a points deduction in play. For an instance, if you see here, work experience in another province, minus 100. Studies in another province, minus 100. So the maximum deduction will be 200. So if you have studied here, and if you have studied in Ontario or British Columbia or any other province, and if you move to Manitoba, you lose these 200 points. So if you're losing these 200 points, then you are unable to meet the cutoff. So it will be really tough. So you have to wait until it comes down. So it's very important that you may analyze the program before making that move, right? So I'll give another example here. So the Manitoba, right? So the November 30th, 2023, if you have a close relative, remember that if you have a close relative, you get 200 points in the Manitoba points grid, right? Here, 200 points. So in November 30th, 2023, the cutoff was 610. And now it has gone up to 782. So within a phase of 6 months, it has increased nearly by 170 points. So if somebody made that move thinking that they're going to get, then all of a sudden it will be very difficult for them to get. So now then people say, okay, so that's a problem. What's the answer? So the answer for that is, you have to, in Manitoba, you have to find the occupation specific selection. So if your occupation is in demand in Manitoba, then you have to see the draw size. For an instance, I put this this particular occupation specific selection because like they're inviting only 18, and for bus drivers are included. Let's say you're a bus driver, right? Then you think you see this draw. Okay, right, it's very good. Let me move to Manitoba. But the frequency of bus driver draws is something you have to consider. They did not have any bus driver draw in the near future. They might not have in the near future. They have not done in the past. So then no point of moving if the draw size is less. If the draw size is like, for an instance, like if you see the nurse aides, they have regular draws, right? So the score is 488. They have regular occupation draws, base draws. So if you are able to fit into those, then you can make that move. If you're unable to do that, very important that you assess the situation and move. So when it comes to the in-demand occupations, you can select the Manitoba in-demand occupations here, right? So they have like the certain in-demand occupations. So if you click on these, you'll be able to find, right? So the health occupations they have, and then more importantly here, they have like the manufacturing and utility occupations and the trades, transportation. So you'll be able to find the in-demand occupations. And remember, you have to check two things. One, whether your occupation in demand, and another one, whether they have frequent draws for that occupation. Third one is whether to see the draw size is significant. For an instance, 18 is not a significant draw, right? So you need to have like at least like here it's 206. When it comes to the number of letters like issued here is 276, 488. It's a significant size, but 18 is not a significant size. So just don't move based on that draw, right? So when it comes to provincial nominations, that's what you have to think. So the answer to the question, should I change the province? If the situation requires, you have to change the province. No point of staying. But you need to understand which program is best for you. Based on that, you have to make that move, right? So they don't just blindly move. Then the common mistakes that a lot of people do in when it comes to CRS calculations is wrong assumptions about CRS, right? For instance, now as we said, like previously we did the CRS calculations. A lot of people think that, okay, this is how I'm going to get the PR, and they do the calculation. They think, okay, if I work for 1 year, I get 35 points, and if I work for 2 years, I get 70 points. That's now it's how it's going to work. If you work for 1 year, you get 35, and next year is 46. So that means only 11 points. And if you're above 30, you're losing 5 points wage. So then you will only get 6 points total contribution, right? So then another common mistake a lot of people do is they think, okay, under skill transferability, they think that, okay, they'll be able to, like, if they get a trade license, they'll be able to get another 50 points. Yes, if you are able to get 50 points for trade license, it's clearly there in the CRS. But under skill transferability, maximum points will be 100. So don't take that mistake. So go to CRS, do the calculation. CRS can be your best friend as well as your best enemy if you do not do it properly. So go to CRS, it's free of charge. Just like what I would do is, like, I'll put myself in certain scenarios. For an instance, from 1 year from now, what will be my age, my score, and what will be like I have 1 year of Canadian experience and all that. So what will be my score? 1.5 years, what will be my score? What if I do a French? What if I do LMIA? What if I gain a master's? What if I get CLB 10? Likewise, you need to have an Excel sheet with several different scenarios. So then you would know that your actual score, right? So it's very important for you to understand. Don't make these mathematical errors, because like it can be very fatal, because all of a sudden, after 1 year, you found that, oh my goodness, I made a mistake. So then you may have nowhere to go. So be thorough with the CRH. It's free of charge, and you have enough videos in YouTube. You can look into those and find your actual score and see how you can build on it based on scenario based, and you have to put a roadmap. In 1 year's time, I do language tests, I get a master's, then my score will be this. If I get 510, will it be enough? I never know, but I can get to 510. 510 is better than 500. 520 is better than 510. So how I can improve, how I can keep improving. So if you want to get the actual score, don't make those mistakes. Then another common mistake is failure to develop a customized plan with timelines. So when we move into a country, it's very common for to get in touch with friends, family, and see, because we build a small community, because we come to this country leaving our loved ones in our home countries. So but when it comes to PR, what works for your friend might not work for you. Friend might have the job in a priority occupation. He might have better language skills. He might have the age in favor. So therefore, you have to develop your own plan. Whatever worked for your friend might not work for you, right? So therefore, at this moment, with all the restrictions in play, if you do not have a proper plan, you are doing that at your own risk. And if you have kids, then you are doing at your because they are ultimately, they might have to pay for this as well. So it's very important that you need to understand your plan and execute it, right? So it's very, very important that you decide what is the strategy that you're going to follow and execute that. So you need to have your own plan. Then the other one, taking matters lightly and not grabbing every possible point. So again, another example, I had again, very good friend of mine. So I know her like 3-4 years. Like I've been pushing her to do the language test. She was in 506, right? I was telling her, if I was you, I would take the language test, because she had a CLB 8 for CELPIP. If you have done the language test and achieve the CLB 9, her score would be 517. She did not do. Yes, the situation was such. She had to go through little issues in her life, but she did not do. The score came to 507, then it went up. Now afterwards she did. Now she has 517, but now she is waiting for a draw. If you have done that at the stage that we discussed, you'd have got the invitation. So grab as much points as possible. It may be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10. It doesn't matter, because so she was hoping that the draws will continue and the 506 will be breached, but she never knew that the 507 is going to be the lowest point this year, and it went up. Now it's 539. Now you have to hope and pray that it will come down. So now the matter is not in your hands. So you control what you can control. If you can able to get the language score, go ahead and do it. Then the other one, being reactive than proactive, it's a very fundamental mistake a lot of people do. So they need to understand, if you have 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, if you're starting fresh, if you have 5 years, if you're going to get 2 years of study, 3 years of postgraduate work permit, you have to plan from now onwards. Don't think that, okay, I'm going to plan after 2 years. Don't think that I'm going to plan after 3 years. Because after 3 years or 4 years or 5 years, Canada might not give PR. We never know. Because nobody said that the PNP is going to cut down in 50%. No expert speculated that, because it was very wild to think at that time, because the PNP is one of the major areas for rural provinces to get candidates. So now they have easily said, this is it, PNP 55,000. So likewise, they can say, okay, in 5 years, we're not going to give PR. So right now, matters in your hand, you have to go ahead and do it. So then delaying the language test is another common mistake, right? So it's some people, they optimistic and some are pessimistic, right? So because some think that, okay, I'm unable to get 9 or 10, so I have to move the province, and they are taking all the measures to move the province and so on, rather than trying the language test. If an applicant comes to me, the first thing that I would suggest them, take the language test. If it is CLB 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever, it doesn't matter, because you have to ascertain your level. Then only you can take a move. If you do not know whether you can get 9 or 10 or 6 or 7, you cannot plan, right? So remember that now you have spent 30,000-40,000 for programs. So why not spend 1% of that and take a language test and ascertain your situation? That's the best thing, that the investment that you can do. I know it will be financially difficult when you're studying and working and you have to manage a family and you have to pay the school fees, but somehow you have to find those $300-400 to get the language test. So whoever don't wait until 3, 4, 5 years to do the language test. If you are in Canada and if you are planning to get the PR, you would need a language test. So even if it is in your first year or the start of the second year, go ahead and do it. I know it's going to expire in 2 years, but 2 years' time, you can do a lot of things, right? In the first go, you might not get the desired results. So you'll think, okay, I made a mistake, I need to redo it. So you can take another 1 or 2 months, again, redo it. But if you wait until 2-3 years, then all of a sudden, then you realize, okay, I'm behind the 8th ball. So then you if you do it beforehand, then you will still have room to improve. Right? So you can start working on your language, you can go to a class, or you can do the self exercises and improve your score. So take the language test as early as possible, right? Because you have to face the reality. No point of running away from the reality, right? So those are the common mistakes, right? So that's the end of our session. So hopefully I was able to give you information about the PR pathways, so and the recent IRCC changes. So thank you very much for joining. And if you wish to book a one-on-one consultation, these are the details, right? So you can contact us, you can email, and you can WhatsApp, and you can call to the direct number in Canada, right? So once again, thank you very much. Thank you for your time. So I hope all of you will develop a plan and get your Canadian permanent residency sooner rather than later. Thank you and good night.